with Tom. I have a good relationship with his agents. We thought Tom played incredibly well this year, along with the entire team, and we would love to have Tom play here. I can speak for Bruce, I think, as long as he continues to want to play. So if that comes to fruition at some point, then we'd be elated. So, but I'd like to keep those conversations private that we have right now.
Okay, we'll go over to Jenna Lane. Jenna? All right, we're going to go over to Greg Allman then.
Hey, Jason, I just want to ask you, given the opportunity you have here to potentially, repeat as Super Bowl champs, you guys have been so careful with contracts not to borrow too much from the future to pay for this year. Is there a reasonable expectation that could change just given the opportunity you have and what it would take to bring this team back as close to intact as you want it to be?
Well, the reason a lot of those contracts were set up that way for so long, before I was even here, is so when you get to a point where you have a very successful team and you want to try to keep as many of the core players that you can together. We don't want to do anything that's going to mortgage completely disrupt the future, but we have flexibility now in the ability to try to keep this team together, as Bruce and I have both been saying.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, we'll go to Scott Reynolds.
Hi, guys. This question's for either Bruce or Jason. We've seen Tom Brady and Jason Pierre-Paul undergo some off-season surgery. Would you classify that as minor? And I know Jordan Whitehead is having a more major surgery that might keep him out of the off-season. But are there any other players that are undergoing surgery that might jeopardize their off-seasons with the team?
Well, I'm not even sure we're going to have an off-season. So we're going to have to wait and see. But, yeah, there are a few guys that are getting cleanups, and it's just like normal, especially when you play into February. Most guys are not going to make it back if there's OTAs, but we'll be more than ready to go for the season. So we'll wait and see how many of that happens. But right now it's nothing that's not normal.
Okay, we're going to go over to James Palmer.
Jason, I'm curious. So many quarterbacks around the league want a say, as they call it, in what's going on in their roster and the organization. What role does Tom have? Do you talk to him about moves this offseason that might happen, or what kind of, I guess, say does he have within what moves you make? Obviously, you make the call, but how do you include him or not so much include him?
Well, I would say Bruce and I both talk to Tom. I mean, why wouldn't you with, the resume that he has? But I think Tom it gets a little bit overblown. Tom isn't banging down the door saying, we need to sign this guy, need to sign that guy. Bruce, we need to draft this guy. We ask him his opinion at times. He gives us his opinion at times, but he never mandates anything. And he's actually been a joy to work with. So I think a little bit of that gets overblown. We like to advise with him on certain things, just like Bruce does with the game plan, but there's never been any kind of animosity or directive from him. And in fact, most of the things that we do, we don't consult with him on.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knew who Tristan's Worth was last year.
And he didn't know Leonard Fournette was coming into the building. We're excited.
All right, we're going to go back to Jenna Lane.
Hey, sorry about that. I was having some tech issues. This question's for Jason. I know you guys used the franchise tag last year on Shaq Barrett for the first time in a long time. Is that an option again for you guys this year, considering you do have a number of deals that I know you're trying to get done? And what, would kind of lead you down that path?
Well, the tag is an option for any one of our players right now. We don't necessarily have plans to use it on one particular player versus another. Right now, we're trying to keep as many of these players that we have and move forward next year. However, if that's a long-term deal or a short-term deal, or use the tag. So You're not going to get me to tell you who is going to get tagged, because right now we couldn't even tell you ourselves.
All right, we're going to go over to Ira Kaufman.
Afternoon, Bruce. I think I see your 7-iron sitting next to that fireplace over there, Mr. Arians. Nicely done.
That didn't work too good today, brother.
Bruce, in your discussions with Jason about the pending free agents, how much of a factor does it come up about, well, we're deep at this position, you know, you look at the targets for Brady, that might be the strength of the team. And Bruce, does that really become a factor in evaluating a Chris Godwin?
Well, he brings so much more than targets. When you look at what he does as an outside receiver and a slot receiver, he's so unique in that regard. And then you put his blocking in there, so he's a huge part of what we do offensively. So it's more than stats, you know. It's also what the guy brings to the huddle. So, yeah, I think with all these guys, each and every one is so different because of what they bring into the huddle. But Chris is very, very unique.
All right, we're going to go to Joey Knight.
Yeah, this is for Coach. Now that you've had a chance to sit back and kind of catch your breath, Coach, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge or the biggest obstacle to doing it again?
Well, we cleared the first hurdle, and that's that we kept our coaching staff intact, you know, other than L, and we're happy for him. So the next thing now is to keep the players intact, keep the team intact as much as we possibly can without risking future years. So, I mean, Jason and I will work together as hard as we can to keep the core guys. I mean, we started last year saying if we could keep the defense together, we would have a chance. And we kept the defense together. Then all of a sudden we got Tom Brady, and that was icing on the cake. It led to a Super Bowl. So for me, it's still keeping the defense together. And then whatever's left, you know, we'll score enough points. So it's a matter of, for me, keeping the defense as solid as we can.
All right, we're going to go to Scott Smith.
This is for both of you guys. When it comes to obviously the Super Bowl win demonstrates the completeness of the team. But have the conversations changed here in the offseason about kind of addressing weaknesses that maybe you would talk about in years past to now? How do we just keep all this together? Have the conversations changed a little bit?
I'm going to let you have that one, Jason.
Well, we felt like we had a very strong team last year. And we had, I think last year proved that a lot of depth at key positions helped us get to our goal of winning the Super Bowl. So right now, as BA said, we're trying to keep that core together. And then if we can keep that core together, we can address other areas, but we have to also address areas of future needs. And we haven't been in that position for a long time since I've been here, where if we are able to keep our core together, there is no immediate need that we're going to need. So the picks that Bruce and I and our staffs will make could either affect the future needs or just be luxury picks that could help us. But it leaves us in a position to take really good football players and not just direct our attention to one or two particular positions.
We're going to go over to Luke Easterling.
Hey guys, this question's for Jason. Jason, when you look back at your drafting record, it feels like you guys have had a better hit rate as you've gone on, basically. And I wonder if there's anything you can kind of pinpoint as to something that changed in your process or specific improvements or changes that you made that kind of led to that. And also as a follow-up, I guess, what can you say about the patience of the ownership to allow you the time to kind of to trial and error that and get to the point where you guys have built the team that you built that won the championship?
Well, first of all, and I kind of answered this, I think, a few weeks ago, but I've got an amazing staff, and they do a great job. And Coach has an amazing coaching staff, and we work so well together. And I think Coach has mentioned this in his own personal journey as a coach. And I've learned from him that you have to learn how to delegate, and you need to learn to trust your assistants. And it took me some time, not that I didn't trust them before, but to fully trust them, for us to get to the point, like during the season when Coach and his staff are coaching the football team, and we're trying to get ready for the draft already and free agency, and just listening to them and giving them more, empowering them more, is something that I've learned has really benefited me in terms of the draft record. But this is our draft record. And then as Coach and his staff got here, it just continued to get better and better because of the togetherness and the way that we work together.
All right, we'll go to Kevin O'Donnell.
Hey, Bruce, I read where you had told Peter King that Mike Evans had come to you and said, if you need some of my money to free up some deals to bring the band back together, that he was willing to do that. Have there been other players, and you don't need to name them, but have there been other players step forward to try to get this thing balanced out with bringing back guys back? And how would you categorize really where you guys are in free agency and bringing a majority of these the players back?
Yeah, I think we have a number of guys that would restructure if needed to be, just to help the rest of the guys out. Nobody's giving up money. That's one thing for sure. They ain't giving it up. They're just pushing in a different direction. But to help the cap, I mean, we're in great shape. Jason and Mike Greenberg done a great job of keeping us in a great spot that way. And it always comes down to dollars and cents, but it also comes down to fit. I mean, guys know where they fit, and I think these guys all know they fit here. Now we got to we'll get the dollars right, and hopefully keep this core together.
All right, we're going to go to Greg Allman.
Hey, Bruce, last year when you got Tom Brady, you had kind of talked about how there's this narrative that like the whole world wants to play with Tom Brady, but that they don't necessarily want to take a whole lot less money to play with Tom. Do you think that could be different this year? Could the Super Bowl being yours here in Tampa change that a little bit and make it easier to maybe get guys to come in to chase another ring?
You know what? I don't think so, Greg. I think there's dollars still talk. Now if it's a couple 100,000, that's not really dollars to them. Then maybe, but for us, I don't know how many outsiders we're going to look at. For us, it's just, and if we can keep our guys and then hit the draft again like we've hit it the last few years, we're going to be in great shape.
We're going to go back to Jenna Lane.
This question is for Jason. I know last year when you guys used the franchise tag on Shaq Barrett, obviously you were working on a deal then. The fact that you guys were talking about numbers back then, does that inch you closer? And I know Shaq has also said that he wants to return, but has that inched you guys closer to getting a deal done here this offseason?
Well, it's an entirely different year. I don't want to say that it's inched us closer, but it does show that we're willing to invest. I don't want to publicly talk about our conversations that we have with his representatives, but I will say that we would like to have him back.
All right, we're going to go over to Ben Volen.
Hey guys, greetings from Boston. We hit 45 degrees today and it feels like summer. Couple quick questions about Tom Brady for whoever wants to answer it. He obviously had that knee procedure right after the Super Bowl. When do you anticipate that he'll be ready to run like a 7-on-7 type of practice again? And if you guys don't have an off season again, how important is his leadership going to be in getting the guys together and kind of working with them on his own?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably looking somewhere around June right now, from what I'm hearing. But yeah, I mean, his leadership, he doesn't have to be out there throwing it anymore. He can be standing there coaching the shit out of them. So wherever they meet and work out, I'm hoping we have an off season for the younger players. Tom doesn't need it, but for the younger players, the first, second, third year players, we've missed 2 years of player development with where we're at now. We don't need to miss another one. So I mean, for him, he can learn as much standing and sitting in my golf cart as he can out there throwing the ball again. So for me, it's just a matter of hopefully having those practices.
All right, we're going to go to Ira Kaufman.
Jason, in putting a value on Lavonte David, Jason, how do you factor in the tandem of him and Devin White? Jason, I realize White might be the face of this defense if he isn't already, but talk about those two as a tandem and how important it would be to keep David and White playing next to each other.
It'd be extremely important. And I don't know if Devin would be the player that he's kind of evolving into right now without Lavonte. Lavonte behind the scenes is a phenomenal leader. And he's actually grown as a leader in the last couple of years to be one of the go-to guys for Bruce on that defensive side of the ball. So he's very important player. Was a very important part of our Super Bowl win. And, we'd love to have him back. We're going to try our damnedest to have him back.
We have time for a few more. We're going to go over to Rick Stroud.
Bruce, you've been part of Super Bowl teams. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics, right, when you win a ring. I mean, some guys say, well, I've got my ring now. It's time for me to get paid, depending on where they are in their careers. Some guys that took their roles last year and accepted them maybe want to be a bigger part of why you win. Can you just talk about that situation? Do you feel like these guys, you just put them right back out there, they're all going to accept their roles, or will guys say, hey, I need more this year?
Yeah, I think, Rick, that's all to be determined. When I said goodbye, we said goodbye to this season, this team. Next year is a different team. When we come back, we're not Super Bowl champs. We're just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's for everybody to find their role, whatever that might be, then embrace it. We did learn this year to embrace those roles and know that at any point in time they could change and be bigger or smaller. And team is still the main thing. And we had a long talk about that when we broke up as a team. And so congratulations, but this team's history. Next year is a whole new ball club, man. Ain't nothing. We ain't done shit.
All right, our last two, we're going to go to Scott Reynolds, then close with James Palmer.
Hey, Jason, you have a chance to walk away from two high-priced contracts in Donovan Smith and Ryan Jensen because they don't have any dead cap money, the way those contracts are structured. But both those guys played extremely well for you, especially since the bye week down the stretch in your Super Bowl run. Have you made a decision to keep those players or possibly extend one or both as well as they played?
We love Ryan and Donovan. They played a pivotal role in our offense, in their protection, in the run game. So if you're we envision Ryan and Donovan both being on this team.
Okay, our last one's going to come from James Palmer.
We expect them, not just envision them.
Bruce, now that things have slowed down a little bit and this was a long year, and I'm just kind of curious if you've kind of envisioned your future and how long you want to keep going after you did this, won a Super Bowl and had all this fun and had a long, crazy year. Have you changed your thinking or thought process about how long you want to keep at it?
Well, it depends on my golf game because it sucks right now. If it stays this bad, I'm going to coach for a hell of a long time. If it gets really good, maybe. But no, it's we're coming back and going after two, and see what happens from there.
Yeah, that's all for today. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you.